Hey, everybody. This is our first time trying to do a Bible study or a reflection or a time of conversation over the internet. And we're excited to share this time with you. I hope that you can write in your questions or conversation, and this can begin to help us understand how best we can use these resources, this technology, to keep in contact during this time. First thing to say is that we hope that you, as well as we feel connected over the internet. I feel like I'm able to talk to people even more maybe than I do other times. I've been calling all sorts of people in the congregation and trying to keep ourselves close. So what we'll do is this: we'll start with prayer, and then Amy's going to tell a story about a Bible passage that we're going to reflect on. Then we'll talk about it for a little bit and hopefully end with some questions or some conversation you guys can have. And keep on checking back frequently, because we're going to have resources for you. Because frankly, we have a lot of time on our hands to do work together as families and to keep conversations going. This is a time for self-edification and development as much as anything else. And I love that we get to spend time being close in that way, and maybe not physically close. So let's begin with prayer. God of hope and healing, you are our refuge and strength. When we are isolated, when we feel alone, we know we can turn to you. God, there are so many that are anxious, and there are so many that are cavalier. Help us to find that middle ground of quiet, faithful caution, of kindness to our neighbors by being safe and regulated. God, help us to listen to the wisdom of those that are smarter than us, members of our congregation even, that tell us how we should look at diseases and how we should respond. God, this is not isolation. This is an opportunity for reflection and retreat, where we can find you, we can find our families, we can learn to love. God, help us to take this time not to be frantic, not to be consumed with worry, but to pause and to breathe, and to thank God, you, for all this life that we have. Amen.
Amen. So the Bible story that we're going to talk about is from Luke chapter 8. It's a story of two different healings that Jesus does. So the setting of the story is that Jesus has just been on the other side of a lake where he healed somebody, and he came back and there were people waiting for him when he got off of the boat. And his fame is growing. He's got a lot of people following him in a very literal sense, not just on Instagram. And he is walking. I'm not sure where he's going. I forget where he's going. But someone comes to him and they say, Jesus, please come and help this man named Jairus. His daughter is dying. Please come and heal her. And so Jesus starts walking toward Jairus's house to go and heal his daughter. And on the way there, there's a woman who sees that Jesus is passing by. And this is someone, she's had hemorrhaging, she's had menstrual issues for about 12 years. She spent money on doctor after doctor. She spent all her savings. She doesn't have anything to show for it. Nobody's been able to fix it. Nobody's been able to help her. But she's heard about Jesus and she sees him walking by and she thinks, well, if I can just touch his coat, that's going to make the difference. That's going to make me well. And so she squeezes in. It's a big crowd kind of pressing all around Jesus. They want to be close to him. She squeezes in and she touches his cloak, just kind of like gets up from behind, touches him, and instantly she knows that she's better. And Jesus feels the power go out of him and he stops. He says, stop, who touched me? And he's looking all around, and his disciples are looking at him like, are you crazy, Jesus? We're all touching you. We're in a crowd together. And he said, no, somebody touched me. And so the woman knows it's her, that she can't just get away with this healing and like run off and have it be anonymous. And so she stands up and she tells a story of what she's been through. And she says, and then Jesus, when I touched you, that was when I was made well. And Jesus says, go in peace. Your faith has made you well. And so this woman is healed, and this is all on the way to Jairus's. But then the word comes from Jairus' house, Jesus, you don't need to come. After all, the little girl has already died. And Jesus says, oh, no, we'll keep going. And he keeps walking. He says, she's still alive. It's going to be fine. And they get to the house, and there's like, everybody's there. They're all in the house. They're bringing over the casseroles, to quote Eugene Peterson. And Jesus says, send everybody out. So the parents stay, and a couple of his disciples stay with him. But it's a small crowd, and they go up to the room where the little girl is. And he says, little girl, get up. And he reaches out his hand, and he picks up her hand, and he has her sit up. And she's made well. And then he tells the parents, don't tell anyone that this happened. Keep it a secret, please. Which obviously did not work out, because we know about it now. End of story.
There's a lot of themes in there that are relevant right now, aren't there? Jeez.
Yeah, what are you hearing, Jim?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, I hear this, the two stories are connected and also so different. And I think the first thing that jumped out at me actually was how everyone's frustrated that there's tests for people that have money, people that are famous. I mean, how is it that Tom Hanks and how is it that NBA players are getting tested for coronavirus and we don't have enough tests for people that have no money? And so Jesus is first being basically paid or enticed by this wealthy and important man. And then he, on his way, has an encounter with someone who's neither wealthy nor important. In fact, she is the least important of the people and would have been unclean and couldn't come into the temple. And he has his interaction with her first, and actually more so is there with her long enough that the other woman, the girl, dies. I mean, by everyone else's estimation. And so it's interesting to show where his attention lies. So that's my first observation. What's your first observation?
Something that is speaking to me about this story, or something that I'm realizing again, is the value of being able to touch, of how healing that is. And so being asked to be distant from each other feels so counterintuitive. So I'm just feeling the story kind of like reaffirming how counterintuitive it is, because normally when there's a crisis, you want to reach out. Like, we have a human response, a healing human response is to reach out, and sometimes just physically, but you can do this on an emotional level too, which we're discovering. But reach out and touch people, and that is part of our healing process as people. And so everything that's happening in this story, like the crowd all being packed together.
That sounds so scary, doesn't it, right now?
Right?
Being so packed together. It's awful.
In a crowd and packed together. Have you considered this? There's no hand sanitizer. What are they doing, you know? That is the piece of the story that for me is speaking in sort of like to me, being separated the way that we are makes me feel like we're being asked to, okay, it's like, okay, nobody eat green vegetables for the next month, right? Like, it's something that's good for you and that we're missing out on. And I'm feeling that, and I know that it is important. And also I just want to like recognize that we're missing something that is important.
Well, maybe it's more like if we find out that there's a breakout of something terrible on cabbage. You know, there's definitely times where it's not just green vegetables, but there's a way that you're supposed to eat something that's now sick. And so
yeah, I can do without cabbage though. Yeah.
But you know, like when Chipotle will say we don't have any lettuce, you know, because there's something that's broken out on the lettuce supply.
Right. Yeah, they're like romaine went out. But you could still get, I don't know, arugula, iceberg was available.
Yeah, that's right. Iceberg was available. So I guess maybe what we're looking at is this is the iceberg lettuce option, where we get to be close to each other, but not actually physically close. I know it's not the same. It's bad metaphor, maybe. It's
kind of, yeah.
So,
no, I think that's right. Yeah.
What would you say to people that would say, if we just have enough faith, we'll make it through this, and we should rely on our faith and not medicine, or rely more on our faith? How do you respond to that kind of negative reading of this?
Well, I mean, science is a gift from God.
Yep.
Is that the right answer?
Yeah, that's my.
I mean,
God lives in our wisdom, the wisdom that we share with each other. And I
yeah.
think, I wonder, I was just thinking about this the other day, which is that during during 1918, when we had the last sort of major pandemic that we're equating this to, we didn't have the kind of social connection that we can have online that we do now. The way that we can look into each other's eyes and have fun with each other over the internet, and that's a real benefit for us now. And I want to make sure that we acknowledge and are thankful for the opportunities that we have to be close to each other. So
That is true.
yeah,
There are a lot more. This would be a lot more isolating, and I'm sure it is more isolating for folks who don't have um, good internet connections, don't have internet connections,
mm,
that kind of thing.
yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. Which is, I think, I've also been trying to think throughout this entire experience, how can we look at this as, just like we do at Church on the Square for everything, how can we look at this as an opportunity to apply the values that we have, our mission statement at Church on the Square, to this opportunity, problem,
Crisis,
and
danger,
crisis? Yeah, I
opportunity.
mean, but
Right.
also acknowledge that we're all in this together, and there's a certain level of connectivity that is not always available to us. I
Mm.
remember after 9/11, I was in New York City on the Upper West Side, and for a moment, maybe 2 days, for a moment, everyone looked each other in the eyes. Everyone, acknowledged that there was another human across from them. It wasn't a lot of physical contact necessarily, but there was a lot of emotional contact. And
Mhm.
we acknowledged that there was humanity and the person across from us. And that is what I thought was so amazing after that event. And it so quickly turned into rage
Mm.
at a whole group of people that we decided was the enemy.
Right.
And in a weird way, I think this is so different. I hope that we don't start having rage towards who we think is the enemy, Asian cultures, or Italy, or whatever it is, but
Right.
instead look at it as an opportunity to look at each other in the eyes and say, you know we have to slow down here. We can't rush past each other. In fact, in a weird way, even walking down the street, when I see someone, I have to look at them and acknowledge that they're there and I'm here, and sort of see the distance between us. And I try to look at them as a human instead of, being afraid of them and being shocked by it. I look at them and say, I'm going to go this way, you go that way. It's good to see you.
Mhm.
And there's almost a more of a connection than I've had previously. So in a
Hmm.
weird way, I'm trying to look at a positive
Yeah.
opportunity there. It's not necessarily reaching out and touching someone's cloak in a crowd,
Right.
but there is like this opportunity for desperate connection, where and we get to do that with each other and say, find out who in our congregation or who in our neighborhood might be really lonely or scared,
Mm.
and take this opportunity to start noticing.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think that's gospel
Yeah.
for me. So I
Yeah.
mean, when Jesus says don't be afraid, he means don't be afraid to be a part of this movement. Don't be afraid to be a part of my family.
Mm.
The woman, the hemorrhaging woman that was discounted by other people, she claimed her spot as part of the family. And
Mm.
while she physically reached out and touched someone to claim that spot, we get to find ways to claim our spot as part of the family in different ways with technologies that we have, by reaching out. And also we get to give an opportunity for others to claim that space and as part of the family too. So maybe that's, how do you create family and reach out?
Yeah. Oh, I like it.
There we
Okay.
go. Does that feel good?
That feels good.
Okay, all right. Okay, everyone, this is the end of our first chat. We'll be posting it up, and please put your comments below. I think that'll be a place for us to put comments on YouTube or
Probably.
something. And if you have questions or suggestions, please let us know, and call us. My goodness, call us. And you can call either of us at the church phone, which I'm now going to read off the card since I don't know it by heart. Isn't that ridiculous? Office is 443-261-4426. Or you can email me at jhamilton@churchonthesquarebaltimore.org, or Amy
At ascends@churchonthesquarebaltimore.org.
And if you know us and you want to get a hold of us by text, email us and we'll start talking that way too. We like all different ways of communication. And to find me on Facebook, I'm James Gary Hamilton, and Amy is
I'm Amy Sens. I have two profiles. Go with the one where it's more just my face.
That sounds exciting about what the other one
Yeah,
is.
right? Real
All right.
specific. Okay.
Let's go all
Bye.
very much.
Okay,
Take
take
care.
care, everybody.